Live है.
Hello students. So we have a group now. I'll put in the team group, that first year group, all the things today, like elasticity of supply, elasticity of demand, and theory of demand and supply we had done. Today we will deal with elasticity of supply. So I hope in last class everything was clear. And this is also like when we discussed about elasticity of demand. So today we will discuss about elasticity of supply. So it is also a response, to the price. So there are other factors also which affect the supply. And it's, I think, approx same, like, because you have already done the elasticity of supply, then it will be much easier for you. And so let's start. I hope in last class you don't have any question. If you have any question, you can post it. I will see in last minutes of the class, okay? I hope the PPT is visible for you. So definition of price elasticity of supply. Because if we'll go by the definition, it's as simple as same as we had seen about the elasticity of demand. Now it is a change in the quantity supplied of a product due to a change in its price is known as price elasticity of supply. So suppose Karo, like we had seen in demand, like because of the price change, there was a change in demand, and how much change was there, then that was the responsiveness. So that we had discussed. Here, the change in the quantity supplied of a product due to a like change in its price, it is known as the price elasticity of supply. So how much change will be there? That is a responsiveness. That will totally depend upon how elastic the supply curve is. Elastic the supply curve, because we had already discussed about the, flatter the curve, flatter the elasticity, there is more elasticity, and steeper the curve, there is less elastic supply or the demand we had seen. So I hope you remember all the things. So it will be in the same way. Now kinds of price elasticity of supply, same we had seen: perfectly elastic, relatively elastic, elasticity of supply equal to utility or equal to unity. That was one. Relatively inelastic supply and perfectly inelastic supply. So now we will see them. It is in the same way we had discussed about the elasticity of demand. So now perfectly elastic supply. When the supply for a product changes, increases or decreases, even when there is no change in the price, it is known as perfect elastic supply. Means there is something which is like totally, available in the market, and it is supplied on whatever the price change is there. But if there is no price change, then also the supply can be limited or the supply can be unlimited. So that is called perfectly elastic. And here also you will see, just in last class में we had discussed कि demand curve flatter था, और जब demand curve flatter था, that was like a more elastic curve. So here also we will see it is a more elastic curve. This is called perfectly elastic. So flatter the curve, more elasticity is there. Now relatively elastic supply. In relatively elastic supply means it will be, there will be some change. अब कितना change होगा? When the proportionate change of supply is more than the proportionate change in price, it is known as relatively elastic supply. Achha, one thing, because in demand curve we had seen these curves, that was a downward sloping, because demand or price ka relation, that is an inverse relationship, and that is a downward sloping curve. Here in supply curve, it is a positively sloped curve, and there is a proportionate change in price. Like proportionate change means it is relatively elastic. Like if there is a 10% change in price, there will be 20% change in supply. So like more than proportionate change than the price. So that's why it is called relatively elastic supply. Okay. I hope you remember. Just remember the curves also, because whenever there will be a question from this unit, it will be asked, and then you have to draw these diagrams. Now elastic supply equal to utility. Utility means like equal to unity. That is 1. अब अगर elasticity of supply is 1, it means like we will just make a straight curve, and that is like a upward sloping, because supply is upward sloping. As price increases, the supply increases. So when the proportionate change in supply is equal to proportionate change in price, it is known as unitary elastic supply. Unitary elastic supply means अगर 10% change is there in the price, then the 10% change will be there in the supply. So देखो सारे concepts same ही हैं. सारे concepts like whatever we had discussed already in the demand of supply, but there was like a downward sloping curve. Here it is a upward sloping curve. So we have to keep in mind when we will draw these diagrams, okay? Because this is the GE paper. I think like if somebody is reading like economics first time, so you should be careful that what you are drawing and what sort of diagram you have to make. अगर elasticity of demand or supply से कोई भी question आता, then you have to draw. You have to tell about like this is a responsiveness to the price change, and that is like the price elasticity of demand. That is the price elasticity of supply, and then the kinds of supply, and then you will define it, you will draw it, and then you will explain it. Now relatively inelastic supply. Here you will see relatively inelastic supply का when the proportionate change in supply is less than the proportionate change in price. Suppose करो prices कितने भी change हो जाएं, मतलब but कुछ चीजें की supply we cannot increase. So that like the proportionate change in price, it is known as relatively inelastic. Means there is a 20% hike in prices, but only 10% change in price, change in supply. So there is a more change in a price, but less change in supply. So that is like proportionate. Proportion is very less, and there is a relatively inelastic curve. So it will be, we will just show it as a steep curve, but we will just not the straight line, but away from the center. Okay. Now there is perfectly inelastic. Perfectly inelastic means whatever the price is, we cannot change the supply. So sometimes there are that sort of products, like we cannot change the supply at all, maybe because they are limited, like limited resources or whatever. Okay, so when there is a no change in the quantity supplied with the change in its price, it's perfectly inelastic, and we will show it as a total straight line, and that will be perfectly inelastic supply. Now all kinds of supply can be shown in one diagram. Because we had seen, if you remember, demand elasticity mein we had seen what different colors ke I had shown one slide. So in the same way, this one is like one diagram in which like every line is telling about the elasticity curve. So the straight one is like, that is like the vertical one. Vertical one kya hai? Vertical one is perfectly inelastic, and horizontal one is perfectly elastic. And one is like elasticity of supply, jahan par equal to unity hai, that is the middle one. And on the left side of it, like perfectly, relatively elastic, and on the right side, relatively inelastic. So that you have to remember. I think you can do it. That is not a big deal after that like chapter, I think, because in elasticity of demand we had already done the same sort of concept. So measurement of the price elasticity of supply. Because there are two methods, like percentage method or proportionate method. Another one is geometric method or point method. So if we have to calculate like how much changes there, how much if suppose karo market mein kisi cheez ka price बढ़ रहा है and we want to change the supply also, then we have to see like how much response will be there of the supply. So percentage method is the same method where we will calculate the percentage change in the quantity supplied and percentage change in the price. And in geometric method or point method, if you remember, like we have demand curve mein हमारे पास downward sloping था, and then the midpoint that was a unity, and above it was infinite, and below पर वो zero था. So in the same sort of way, percentage method हम देखेंगे. Percentage method is what that is like percentage change in the quantity supplied and percentage change in price. So that we have to remember. Percentage हमने कैसे निकाला था? If you remember, delta Q upon delta P into P upon Q. So delta Q means change on the quantity supplied. Delta P means change in a price, and Q is initial quantity supplied, and P is equal to initial price of the good. So we will calculate the supply, like whenever you will handle the numericals. So आपके पास ये formula है. आपको न्यूमेरिक लाइक जितनी भी वैल्यूज है वो दी जाएंगी. यू हैव टू जस्ट पुट इट in the formula and then you will solve it, like how much elasticity is there if there is like this that much a price change or that much a supply change. So how much is the elasticity, or suppose करो कि like elasticity is given, maybe elasticity इस formula में दे दी जाए, आपको बोला जाए कि percent like quantity change इतनी हुई थी, price में कितना change हुआ, या maybe like that was the earlier price और price में कितना change हुआ. So maybe any sort of question can come in numericals, but this formula you have to remember. Okay guys. Now the geometric method. अच्छा, like in between, अगर आज elasticity of supply थोड़ा कम खत्म हो जाती है ये वाली slide, so I will share another topic we will start, because this is like a little topic, and then we can go ahead because we had missed some classes, so it will be better that we'll start something else. जो भी questions होंगे आपके, that I will deal with. So now difference between quantity and the intersect on x-axis. Difference between quantity and origin. देखो क्या होता है, quantity और intersect, मतलब जो भी x-axis है उस पर intersect कहाँ पर हो रहा है, that is the thing, and upon difference between quantity and origin. Mostly ये इधर just you have to remember geometric method और point method बहुत कम पूछा जाता है, but still you can just remember the formula, and different points पे जो slope positively sloped curve होगा उसके different points पे we will see that elasticity. So example इसका लेते हैं, price of good falls, like that is a percentage change का example. Price of a good falls from rupees 15 to rupees 10, and the supply decreases from 100 units to 50 units. So देखो यहाँ पर सारी values आपको दी हुई है, आपको question दिया हुआ है, उसमें आपको price बता दिया, price कितने से कितना हुआ है, supply में बता दिया supply कितने से कितनी हुई है. जब price fall हुआ, that is 15 से 10 rupees हो गया, then supply भी decrease हो गई, that was from 100 units to 50 units. So you have to just put it in the formula. Now 15 upon 100 into 50 upon 5, and then you will get 1.5, means elasticity is more than 1. It means it is a case of elastic supply, like relatively elastic one, which is more than 1. Okay guys, so just like this you have to solve the numericals in this chapter, and mostly numericals aa jate hain, so just remember the formula. Okay, up now the factors affecting price elasticity of supply, because sometimes because we were taking at it as a ceteris paribus situation, and then we were just discussing about price elasticity of supply, as we were earlier discussing price elasticity of demand. Here we were taking price elasticity of supply. बट क्या होता है ना, अदर फैक्टर्स आर आल्सो they also play the role. Suppose करो कि we did not count any other factor, that's why we had taken कि price बढ़ गया तो supply बढ़ गई, but there are other factors also. That is, one is time factor, short period and long period. Maybe you have heard it like short run and long run thing. The short run and long run, short run में क्या होता है, relatively less elastic, long period is more elastic. देखो short period of time में when there is a like short span, then we cannot change our like factors of production much. We can just change the labor, just a variable one, but we cannot change the fixed factors like land. आप suppose करो machinery आनी हो या land आपको increase करनी हो, you cannot change. So production का जो short period होता है, that is relatively less elastic, in which you cannot increase the supply. Suppose करो अभी price बढ़ गया just sudden किसी चीज का, and then producer को थोड़ा time लगेगा उस price को response करने में. तो जो response होगा वो short run में नहीं होता. That's why short run में बहुत कम supply increase हो पाएगी. That's why it is called relatively less elastic. But when we will go for the long run period, long run में क्या होता है? Long run में we have time, we can change the fixed factors, we can change the variable factors like labor or capital, हम दोनों change कर सकते हैं, and then we can change the machinery, we can change the land. So that is a long period. So in long period, supply is more elastic. Means there can be a change in production techniques, maybe new technology again or whatever is there. So that's why the supply can be increased or decreased according to the prices. So there is always like in short period relatively less supply रहेगी, less elastic रहेगी, and in long period more elasticity रहेगी. अब now nature of the commodity. देखो nature of the commodity भी it's like perishable goods, relatively less elastic. अब perishable goods का देखो like vegetables है, milk है, उनका एक particular time होता है. So उनकी supply एकदम से नहीं मतलब कम करी जा सकती या बढ़ाई जा सकती because they are a perishable one. But durable goods का if we can see durable goods की obviously you can just stock it, but perishable goods you cannot stock in bulk. So that's why in durable goods there is like more elastic supply, and in perishable goods there is relatively less elastic supply. Now the techniques of production. Techniques of production, complex technique अगर होती है, like if suppose करो there is like a lot of complexity in like producing some particular thing, then it will be inelastic curve. वो एकदम से change नहीं हो पाएगी. अगर simple technique है तो definitely that supply can be changed. So complex technique means inelastic and simple technique means elastic supply. Now the nature of input used. देखो nature of inputs भी बहुत decide करते हैं. Whatever the production is, like production technique क्या है आपकी? If you are using commonly used factors, then your supply will be elastic. अब suppose करो you are using specialized factors which are not available in the market. So आप उनको use करो तो that's why like even that you cannot change your supply. So that will be inelastic supply. So whatever the nature of inputs you are using, like are they commonly available or are they very specialized factors? So that will decide about the elasticity. So in commonly elastic supply, in a specialized factors, inelastic supply. Now the future price expectation. Take a future price expectation, we cannot ignore that fact. Maybe there is a change in a price or a decrease in a price or increase in a price in future. So when there is a price increase, the supply is inelastic. Maybe they won't change the supply because they will change the supply in future only if the price gonna increase. And if price gonna decrease, they will just change the supply now. They will just sell everything now, and then they will not wait for the like price to decrease because their profit will be decreasing then. So in price increase in future, that means like there will be an inelastic supply, and if there is a price decrease, then there will be a elastic supply. So there are the natural constraint. Natural constraints क्या होते हैं? Less elastic. Natural constraints में you can just see natural endowments कितने available हैं, like geographical barriers भी होती हैं. Sometimes things cannot come. If some things are coming from the hilly area, maybe there are less strained, and there are some constraint is there. And natural constraint में you can just see जैसे rain नहीं होते तो agriculture जो crops है हमारे crops पे total effect आ जाता है एकदम से. So that's why there are natural constraints also. So that's why natural constraint की वजह से एकदम से supply increase नहीं की जा सकती. So that is less elastic because we cannot control nature, and that's why it is less elastic. So now risk taking. Willing to take risk, more elastic. Suppose karo, like if you want to just produce your things more and supply in the market, you are willing to take risk, then obviously your supply will be more elastic. If you are unwilling, then even when the price changes, you won't take a risk. So in unwilling to take risk, your elasticity of supply will be less. अब ना प्रैक्टिकल इंपॉर्टेंस पे आते हैं. देखो प्रैक्टिकल इंपॉर्टेंस बहुत जरूरी होता है समझना. मैं आपसे बोल रही थी ना कि एक्सेप्शंस के भी we will talk about. So we will talk about the exceptions today itself. I think this slide will be over and I will deal with your questions also. Okay? मतलब rush नहीं करते हैं. मतलब आज का टॉपिक मैं इसलिए थोड़ा सा फास्ट ले रही हूँ because we had already done price elasticity of demand. तो थोड़ा easy हो जाएगा I think. So practical importance क्या है? Like why do we actually read about the price elasticity of supply? Why there is a need? Now the practical importance of the concept of the price elasticity of supply is it is helpful in taking business decisions. Business decisions लेने के लिए suppose करो अगर कोई supplier है, they have to think like if there is an increase in supply, Can we change our production techniques? Can we like increase the supply and can we earn more profit? Suppose करो आपका like अगर एक producer की 4 parties हैं and he wants to sell to these 4 parties and whoever will be giving the higher price वो वहाँ पर देखेगा. But if the higher price party asks that you have to supply more and then business person has to take the decision that my supply is elastic, like it can be changed or not. So that sort of decision can be taken in business because like if we calculate the price elasticity of supply. Importance of the concept and formatting tax policy of the government. देखो tax policy क्या कहती है? Tax policy आपकी whenever there is tax on something, you know, it decreases your purchasing power because you have to pay tax. So अगर आपका tax pay करके आपकी purchasing power कम हो रही है, definitely you will tend to less like spend करोगे आप because आपका disposable money कम हो गया. So the thing is, अब जब टैक्स पॉलिसी इतना देखना होता है कि टैक्स को उतना रेज कर पाए तो इट वोंट अफेक्ट द सप्लाई थिंग. So there should be always like this supply elasticity concept is very useful in formatting text. So for determining the rewards of the factors of production, definitely factors of production को कितना money देना है, like how much is the price and how much one labor is able to supply that product or produce that product. So that's why like only on that basis they decide about the rewards of the factor, like wages कितने देने हैं, rent कितना देना है particular land पे. So that sort of determination is done by this concept to determine the terms of trade between the two countries. Now terms of trade maybe like what techniques you are using, how much you can supply in this particular time, how much other country can supply in that particular time. So that's why there is a terms of trade between two countries. The price elasticity of concept is also very important over here in trading. And now I will go for just a little bit quick definition thing which you have to write in the exam. That is, law of supply tells us that producers will respond to a price drop by producing less, but it does not tell us how much less. So the degree of sensitivity of the producers to a change in price is measured by the concept of price elasticity of supply. So देखो अगर change तो हो गया market में, like जो भी price change हुआ है, price change होने के बाद like how much to supply and how much less to supply. So that decision should be taken by the producer itself. So producer की sensitivity कितनी है change to price को लेकर, like how much is the answer that will be given by this price elasticity of supply. So price elasticity of supply is the percentage change in quantity supplied resulting from a percentage change in price. Now it is a measure of how much the quantity supplied of a good responds to a change in the price of that good. Suppose करो like price elasticity का ये जो हमने supply लिया, so percentage change in quantity supply and percentage change in price. So that is a formula. Like we are just taking like Q delta Q upon Q into 100 था, and then delta price delta P upon P into 100 था. So whatever that we had calculated that that formula in a different way. Just a minute. Yeah. So now the ranges of the elasticity is perfectly elastic means perfectly elastic that is infinite, and then relatively elastic is that is more than 1, and unit elastic is like equal to 1. So relatively inelastic and perfectly inelastic, like we will just see that elasticity of supply is 0, that is perfectly inelastic. So in these like whatever the kind of elasticity we had seen, like perfectly elastic, unit elastic, and whatever, we just remember the formula. If there is elasticity of supply is equal to infinite, then there is like ES is equal to perfectly elastic. And when ES is equal to 0, it means like perfectly inelastic. So that you can just remember, like these are just whatever I have already told. Now determinants of supply elasticity. Determinants क्या क्या हैं? देखो determinants, the factors we had already talked about, like nature of technology, nature of that product, and the perishable goods say, like durable goods say. So here the following list contains the main determinants of price supply elasticity. Sorry. So product type. अब ऐसा करते हैं, मैं ऐसे करती हूँ, अभी तक मैंने आपको जितना पढ़ाया है उसमें से मैं कुछ पूछ लेती हूँ आपसे, एंड इफ यू कैन आंसर एट द पर्टिकुलर टाइम, तो दैट विल बी ग्रेट. एक बार आपके it really takes a lot of time. Yeah, it is downloading. Okay, please share the link of the group. This team, अगर मैं like it's online thing से थोड़ा सा भी हटी, and then team can create the problem. So मैं in between the class नहीं आपको भेज सकती. I think link आप लोगों को available होगा, because class के last में try करती हूँ if I can do that. Okay, if I can just publish the link with you guys. Yeah. The link of the group. Everyone is asking for the link of the group. Ma'am, can we refer McGraw-Hill book of economics? McGraw, I said. No, McGraw-Hill book, no, it won't work, okay? So it's better you read the same book which is referred by Delhi University. As I just wanted to ask in that in elasticity, I have drawn the curve upward, but in supply, the curves are downwards. Yeah. Elasticity of demand. In elasticity of demand is what? Demand is a downward sloping curve and supply is upward sloping curve. Demand downward sloping क्यों था? In theory of demand we had seen that when the price will increase, the quantity demanded will decrease. So that's why it is downward sloping. There is an inverse relationship. But when there is like a positive relationship, कि जैसे जैसे price बढ़ेगा वैसे वैसे supply भी बढ़ेगी. So that is like positively sloped curve in elasticity of supply also. Can you please share the PPT or the PDF in the group in the previous classes? Definitely I'll do that. Today I will do that. I think आप सब लोगों को जो भी मतलब क्लास में अभी अवेलेबल है, I think there is like 173 students are here. So I think all students should be added over there in GE Economics. Just let me see because I cannot just change the thing from here. Sometime team creates a lot of problem. पता चला वो क्लास भी थोड़ा half रह गई. So that's why when I try to log in 5 or 10 minutes before. नहीं कितनी यूनिट्स करवा दी हैं देखो अभी फर्स्ट यूनिट ही चल रही है फर्स्ट यूनिट में ही वी आर वर्किंग थ्योरी ऑफ डिमांड थ्योरी ऑफ सप्लाई elasticity of demand elasticity of supply we had done okay so we did not come to the second unit first unit पे ही हैं हम first unit here I'm teaching you Anuradha first unit got the answer which group तो अभी ऐसा करते हैं just let me finish this slide and then I will try I hope nothing happens in between because network का problem and Microsoft Team की वजह से कभी-कभी problems आ जाती हैं. Ma'am, will the question paper of DU, SOL and regular will be the same? Yeah, question papers the same रहेंगे definitely. Whatever you are reading, syllabus same है तो change क्यों होगा? Professor, will the question paper of DU, SOL? Yes, it will be same. College group है. Okay, ma'am, please send the group. Any question regarding elasticity of demand or elasticity of supply? Any question regarding that? Okay, I did not find any question. Just one question was there, so I had already discussed that. इस subject का से हमें PPT मिल सके इस subject का like I did not get you like I'm making the PPT myself, so I'll share the PPTs with you guys. About the group link, I'll try to share it itself. Okay, just let me finish the PPT first then. डेट शीट भी सेम एज वेल देखो डेट शीट तो एसओएल की हर लाइक जैसे भी होगा एसओएल की वेबसाइट पे अवेलेबल होंगी सब चीजें आप ओल्ड क्वेश्चन पेपर्स भी देख सकते हैं यू कैन सी द डेट शीट आल्सो ओवर हियर सो जस्ट एसओएल की वेबसाइट को आप रेगुलर विजिट करते रहें एंड द इंफॉर्मेशन विल बी देयर यू डोंट नीड टू वरी अबाउट दैट सो या वी वर डिस्कसिंग अबाउट डिटरमिनेंट्स ऑफ इलास्टिसिटी ऑफ सप्लाई. One is product type. So type of the product impacts how quickly a producer is able to respond to a change in the price. Like a manufacturing firm may be able to quickly adjust production levels with one minor adjustment in the equipment, or while other products such as apples require several years of establishing a new orchard obviously. अब देखो कि कुछ facilities ऐसी होती हैं या कुछ products ऐसे होते हैं we can just easily make. But some products are like it takes years of production, that is apple या चाय के बागान हम देखें या whatever, like it takes a lot of time, you know. Simple child care services require relatively few skills. अब अगर सर्विसेज की भी बात करें हम तो चाइल्ड स्किल के लिए इतनी ज़्यादा सर्विसेज नहीं चाहिए, बट इफ यू हैव टू बी अ डॉक्टर देन definitely you know you need to be more skilled. So the supply elasticity of child care service will be more elastic, but जो physician services देने वाले लोग हैं डॉक्टर्स वो थोड़ा उनकी elasticity of supply कम होगी क्योंकि they are more specialized. So sometime it depends upon the product type that like what sort of elasticity can be. Okay, like it is readily available, like what sort of techniques is used over there, or is it specialized or the common one. Okay, so in that basis we decide about the elasticity of supply. Now the time is a very determinant. We have already discussed about that thing. So it's like in the case of the apple, some other agriculture products, the immediate elasticity of supply is very inelastic. Suppose करो कि अभी मार्केट से ऑनियन बिल्कुल गायब हो जाए, लाइक ऑनियन के प्राइसेस बहुत बढ़ जाए. अब ऑनियन को हम एकदम से नहीं कर सकते ना, इट टेक्स टाइम यू नो टू सो फिर रीप एंड एवरीथिंग. सो एक क्रॉप को आने में टाइम लगता है, तो दैट्स व्हाई यू नो दैट शॉर्ट रन में सम टाइम कुछ प्रोडक्ट्स की जो इलास्टिसिटी है वो इनइलास्टिक होती है, चेंज नहीं हो सकती. सो देयर आर ओनली सम एप्पल्स अवेलेबल इन द फॉर द सेल टुडे. हाउएवर लाइक विद सम प्रोड्यूसर्स आर एबल टू रिस्पॉन्ड इन द इंक्रीज इन द सप्लाई, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग फर्म्स कैन बिल्ड न्यू फैसिलिटीज. अब सपोज करो कि कभी कभी ऐसा होता है कि लाइक जो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग फर्म्स हैं विच एक्चुअली कैन अफोर्ड, जिनके पास बड़ी मशीन्स जो कि खरीद सकती हैं, तो जैसे ही प्राइस बढ़ता है लाइक दे कैन रिस्पॉन्ड टू इट, सो उनकी प्राइस में बी मोर इलास्टिक. बट अगर एग्रीकल्चर प्रोडक्ट्स की बात करें तो डेफिनेटली इट डिपेंड्स अपॉन द टाइम, लाइक शॉर्ट रन और जो लॉन्ग रन अभी हमने बात किया था. तो इन शॉर्ट रन वी विल हैव द लेस सप्लाई, लेस इलास्टिक सप्लाई, एंड लॉन्ग रन विल हैव मोर इलास्टिक सप्लाई. प्रोडक्शन कैपेसिटी, उस पर भी डिपेंड करता है प्रोडक्शन कैपेसिटी पे. या सपोज करो इफ अ फर्म इज ऑलरेडी ऑपरेटिंग इन इट्स फुल कैपेसिटी, then to increase supply would require building additional facilities and purchasing new equipment. If a firm is operating at the like below full capacity, can respond to a price increase quicker than a firm that is already in the full capacity. अब suppose करो like if you had already studied so much, suppose करो आज आपको बहुत ज़्यादा homework दे दिया जाए and then you have started to your full capacity. Now if some other essay comes कि आपको ये essay भी लिखना है, then you will not be able to respond. So but when you had studied little bit less, like अभी आपके पास कैपेसिटी थी कि आप और स्टडी कर सकते हो, then you can respond to new essay, whatever new homework will be coming. So there is a production capacity. If the production capacity had been already exhausted, so उनके पास तो कुछ बचा ही नहीं है, सारे resources already use हो चुके हैं, तो they cannot change the supply. But if the firm is actually operating under the capacity, like not on the full capacity, then actually they can increase their capacity and they can respond to the supply change or the price change. ओके, सो प्रोडक्शन कैपेसिटी को भी देखेंगे. नाउ इनपुट सब्स्टिट्यूशन, देखो फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी एंड मोबिलिटी दैट ऑलवेज मैटर, कि हम सब्स्टिट्यूट कैसे कर सकते हैं. लाइक सपोज करो अगर हम आज एक पर्टिकुलर चीज खा रहे हैं और वो अवेलेबल नहीं होती है मार्केट में कल से, तो कैन वी शिफ्ट आवर्सेल्फ टू समथिंग अदर, लाइक सम अदर थिंग. सो दैट डिपेंड्स, दैट इज कॉल्ड इनपुट्स के सब्स्टिट्यूट कितने हैं. अब सपोज करो टी का था, टी का सब्स्टिट्यूट हमने कॉफी लिया, सो अगर टी के प्राइसेस बढ़े तो ऑब्वियसली वी विल ट्राई टू शिफ्ट ऑन कॉफी. But sometime substitute available नहीं होते कुछ चीजों के. So another determinant of the elasticity of supply is input substitution. As the price of a good increases, how easily can input that were used in the production or another good be switched over and like produced for the good or the higher price. Suppose करो हायर प्राइस बढ़ा, उसकी सप्लाई इंक्रीज नहीं, मतलब उसकी सप्लाई इंक्रीज होती भी है नहीं होती है उससे कुछ मैटर नहीं करता. पीपल कैन नॉट अर्न, मे बी प्रोड्यूसर कैन नॉट अर्न द प्रॉफिट बिकॉज वी आर शिफ्टिंग टू द अदर गुड. So that's why this input substitution it also impact the elasticity of supply. Now oil and elasticity of supply. Oil के बारे में तो oil prices के बारे में तो we had already seen. अब world supply of oil following a large rise in world demand. अब suppose करो इतना ज़्यादा डिमांड है कि मतलब डिमांड तो चेंज हो ही नहीं सकती है बट द सप्लाई वेरिएबल अमाउंट ऑफ स्पेयर कैपेसिटी अमंग द मेजर प्रोड्यूसर्स, कि कितनी वो स्पेयर कैपेसिटी है उनमें. कैन ऑयल स्टॉक्स बी पुट ऑन टू द मार्केट टू मीट द राइज ऑफ द डिमांड. लाइक क्या एकदम से ऑयल की डिमांड अगर बढ़ती है तो ऑयल स्टॉक क्या अवेलेबल करे जा सकते हैं मार्केट में. और ऑयल सप्लाई माइट बी इन इलास्टिक इफ करंट आउटपुट इज क्लोज टू कैपेसिटी. अगर ऑलरेडी ऑयल जो सप्लाई है वो ऑलरेडी कैपेसिटी तक आ चुकी है कि और प्रोड्यूस नहीं की जा सकती, तो डेफिनेटली इट्स सप्लाई विल बी इन इलास्टिक. सो इन रेगुलर टर्म आल्सो वी कैन जस्ट सी. अब इलास्टिसिटी ऑफ सप्लाई ऑफ न्यू हाउसिंग का सोचो. न्यू हाउसिंग में क्या है कि द सप्लाई ऑफ न्यू हाउसिंग की प्लानिंग परमिशन चाहिए, अवेलेबिलिटी की लैंड भी चाहिए, शॉर्टेजेस ऑफ स्किल्ड लेबर भी होगा, टाइम लगेगा थोड़ा सा प्रोडक्शन में. अब न्यू हाउसिंग डेवलपमेंट्स जो होते हैं टेक मंथ्स टू कंप्लीट, तो इनका इलास्टिसिटी क्या होगा न्यू हाउसिंग का, इट विल बी लेस. ओल्ड हाउसेस का क्या होगा, इट विल बी इलास्टिक क्योंकि दैट इज ऑलरेडी बिल्ड अप. तो अगर आप पुराने घर खरीदने जाओगे तो मे बी वो अवेलेबल हो मार्केट में एंड देन यू कैन हैव इट. बट इफ यू विल गो फॉर द न्यू हाउसिंग थिंग देन द सप्लाई ऑफ इलास्टिसिटी विल बी लेस बिकॉज इट टेक्स टाइम. एक टाइम लगता है, ड्यूरेशन है टाइम का. अब नाउ इलास्टिसिटी ऑफ सप्लाई ऑफ ड्रग्स. देखो शॉर्ट टर्म सप्लाई इज डिपेंडेंट ऑन द स्टॉक्स ऑफ प्रोडक्ट अवेलेबल, मतलब कितने अभी स्टॉक अवेलेबल है. इफ द स्टॉक्स आर लो सप्लाई कैन नॉट इंक्रीज इन द शॉर्ट टर्म टू मीट डिमांड. अब ना डिबेट चलती है कि यूज टू पेटेंट्स एंड हाउ मच द लिमिट ऑफ द प्रोडक्शन इन द लॉन्ग रन. देखो पेटेंट्स, प्रोडक्शन ऑफ टेक्निक्स, अगर सब लोगों के पास उसका फार्मूला नहीं है तो ऑब्वियसली दे कैन नॉट सप्लाई द ड्रग्स. अगर पेटेंट मतलब पब्लिक पेटेंट है तो डेफिनेटली दे कैन प्रोड्यूस द ड्रग्स. सो सप्लाई ऑफ ड्रग्स वी हैड सीन, सप्लाई ऑफ ऑयल वी हैड सीन, सप्लाई ऑफ न्यू हाउसिंग वी हैड सीन, एंड एग्रीकल्चरल इनपुट्स की भी बात करें, एग्रीकल्चर सॉरी प्रोडक्ट्स की भी बात करें, तो दैट वी कैन जस्ट सी दैट कि ऑब्वियसली द सप्लाई विल बी इन इलास्टिक बिकॉज उनको भी टाइम लगता है एक मंथ में मतलब सो किया जाता है, देन मतलब कितने मंथ्स बाद रीप किया जाता है, लाइक हाउ मच टाइम इट नीड्स, एक क्रॉप को आने में कितना टाइम लगता है. सो दैट्स व्हाई whenever there is a gestation period there will be a less elastic supply. I hope like elastic supply is clear to you guys. I'll just like stop presenting this one and I will present the another slide. Just wait for a moment. The screen will be blank. But you can ask questions in between. I am here and I'm just sharing another one. So if you want to just go for like one more quick review of that, then I can about the elasticity. That is I think chapter 5 and unit 1 itself. So now in this maybe we will learn about, I will just revise all the things, okay, what we had done, okay guys, and can I see the new questions? It's very slow. Okay, elasticity of supply, repeat please. The whole thing I have to, like, elasticity team has made, had made or not? Yeah, team had made. Elasticity of supply is what? Whenever there is a change in the price, then there is a change in supply. So whenever there is a change in supply, the question is how much price में अगर 10% change है, so how much supply will be changing? That depends upon the elasticity. अब अगर 10% प्राइस में चेंज आता है और 10% ही सप्लाई में चेंज आता है, then it means there is unitary elastic supply, okay? But if there is like 10% प्राइस में चेंज है और more than 10% like 20% चेंज हो जाता है सप्लाई में, it means that it is relatively elastic supply, मतलब चेंज हो सकती है बहुत ज़्यादा. अगर प्राइस 10% चेंज हुआ है बट सप्लाई जो है only 5% चेंज हुई है, like lesser than the price, जो proportionate change देखा जाए, so that means the supply is inelastic, like relatively inelastic. And if maybe the price has changed to 5 to 10, 10 to 15 or whatever, but there is no change in supply, so that means inelastic supply. So whenever there is a change in price, like how much response of the producer will be there in supply, so that is like how much, the thing is very important, how much. We are just asking कि price को जो भी, like whatever the change in price, we are responding to that by the supply chain, but how much change will be there, that is depicted by the elasticity of supply. And like it is of like several types that we had discussed, like perfectly elastic, perfectly inelastic, relatively inelastic, and unitary elastic. Okay, guys. So I hope if you had joined timely, again, I think many attendees had already gone. Ma'am, आपके Telegram group में, Telegram group, I'm sorry guys, मेरे पास नहीं है. मैं एक बार try करती हूँ share करने का. अभी calendar में मैं जाके वो team में जाके एक बार link देखती हूँ. Paper कब से है मैम study में? Study material will be available on the website. Like you can ask SOL team studying eco for the first time, have a lot of questions in mind, but can I ask everything here what to do? देखो थोड़ा थोड़ा करके आप पूछ तो सकते हो यहाँ पर, like whatever. कहीं आप कुछ questions तो पूछोगे तो कुछ questions यहाँ पर आंसर कर सकते हैं हम लोग. मैम that will be, देखो online होंगे offline होंगे, that will be determining by circumstances later on. What is natural constant? Natural constant होता है दिया, suppose करो जैसे geographical constant है या कुछ चीज़ available ही नहीं है. अब suppose करो coal production है, अब coal mine से coal ही extract नहीं की गई है, या suppose करो कि बारिश नहीं हुई है, so like agriculture जो product है उस पर impact कर रहा है. like अब हम बारिश तो नहीं बुला सकते ना, rainfall क्या होता है, rainfall एक बहुत बड़ा determinant है crops के लिए, like crop production के लिए. but अगर वही अच्छे से नहीं हो रही है, you know, so क्या होता है, and definitely we cannot control it. So that is a natural thing. A natural constraint होगा because हम rainfall को मतलब बढ़ाकर या कम करके, you know, we cannot change the crop production. So that is a natural constraint. Elasticity of drugs will be inelastic as it is a habitual and people spend in respective to their income. Like, are you talking about the elasticity of demand or are you talking about elasticity of supply? So that will be clear. अगर elasticity of demand देखिए जाए तो that will be inelastic, but supply inelastic भी हो सकती है, elastic भी हो सकती है. That depends upon like what sort of a drug is there, what sort of production of that drug is there, and technique कौन सी है, या patent है या नहीं है वो medicine जो भी whatever the drug is there, उसकी availability कितनी है market में. Okay, so elasticity of supply और demand को different करके देखेगा. Will ManQ is enough for our exam? Yes dear, ManQ is enough. अगर आप ManQ अच्छे से पढ़ लोगे that will be enough. Okay guys. Ma'am, will you explain individual, can you explain individual and market supply ones, supply का ones? Okay, देखो क्या होता है ना, individual means whatever the individual firm. अब देखो क्या होता है ना, एक इंडस्ट्री में कितनी सारी फर्म्स होती हैं. सपोज करो if we are talking about स्टील इंडस्ट्री, सो स्टील इंडस्ट्री के लिए बहुत सारी यूनिट्स होंगी ना, बहुत सारी फैक्ट्रीज होंगी. सो पर फर्म, लाइक अगर हम देखें तो जो वो एक जो फर्म है वो कितना प्रोड्यूस कर पा रही है, वो कितनी सप्लाई कर पा रही है. बट व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट द इंडस्ट्री देन वी आर एक्चुअली एग्रीगेटिंग एवरी फर्म्स आउटपुट, मतलब सारी फर्म्स मिलकर कितना हमें एग्रीगेट सप्लाई दे पाती हैं. सो दैट इज कॉल्ड द मार्केट सप्लाई. लाइक जो भी हमारी चीजें, मतलब जो भी इंडस्ट्री में की जो भी प्रोडक्शन हो रहा है वो मार्केट में कितना अवेलेबल है, दैट इज कॉल्ड द मार्केट सप्लाई, लाइक एग्रीगेट ऑफ द फर्म सप्लाई. और इंडिविजुअल सप्लाई इज ओनली वन फर्म कितना सप्लाई कर दिया. सो हम सप्लाई कर्व जो होगा वो पॉजिटिवली स्लोप्ड ही होगा, ओके, इंडिविजुअल में भी और मार्केट सप्लाई में भी, बट इट्स लाइक सिंपल दैट वन फॉर्म के लिए हम बात कर रहे हैं या हम मार्केट के लिए बात कर रहे हैं। अगर हम वन फॉर्म के लिए बात करें तो डेफिनेटली इट कैन बी लाइक इन इलास्टिक और लाइक वट एवर, इलास्टिसिटी भी अगर वहाँ पे नहीं देखी जाए तो ओनली वी आर जस्ट टॉकिंग अबाउट द वन पार्ट ऑफ होल इंडस्ट्री, बट होल इंडस्ट्री की जो मार्केट सप्लाई है लाइक दैट विल बी अ मार्केट वन। ओके लिंक मैं एक बार ट्राई करती हूँ लिंक के लिए। डिफरेंस बिटवीन इलास्टिक और इनइलास्टिक, इलास्टिक मींस रिस्पांस दे सकते हो आप, अगर प्राइस में कुछ भी चेंज हो सकता है तो चेंज रिस्पॉन्सिवनेस कितनी है, सेंसिटिविटी